Had I not had the Insta360 X4 with me, I would not have been able to capture the entirety of this spectacularly clumsy moment from every angle when I was at the Amazon Creator Summit in London a couple of weeks back. Honestly, I have been taking the Insta360 X4 with me everywhere since I got it a couple months ago. I've been using it all the time, capturing moments I never normally would have bothered to, because all I do now is just take it out, plonk it down somewhere and hit record. It truly is almost the perfect behind the scenes camera, even though I love it and it goes everywhere with me now. There are a couple of things that I really do hope are improved within the next generation, and even though this video is sponsored by Insta360, I am still going to highlight the shortcomings that I have found in the X4, because no camera is perfect. But before I dive into what I think could do with some work, here's what it's really like to use and how I get the best out of it. Depending on how you use the camera, so for example, if you're holding it out and talking as though you're doing a vlog, for example, I try to make sure that I'm holding it out like I would any other camera, so that you're not just getting a view of my nostrils. But I don't always remember to do this, because at times I just hold it out and wing it. But if I'm making a conscious effort to get the best angle for a talking head, then I try and be a little bit more intentional with how I actually hold the camera out and how far away from me the camera is. Otherwise, if I'm just walking around and I'm just trying to capture what's going on, or holding it out whilst I'm doing something, then I'm not really too fussed with what angle I get, and I'm more bothered about just capturing something and capturing the action. Honestly, in my opinion, the video footage that comes from the Insta360 X4 looks great. More specifically, when you have a lot of light, like on a bright sunny day, the footage just looks crisp, it looks rich, but this is when you shoot in 8K. In 5.7K, I definitely think that there's a noticeable difference, so I only ever really shoot in 8K. The downside to this is the fact that the 8K footage the files are so big, they're really, really meaty, so that's something to really consider when you're shooting in 8K. More specifically, if you're cutting up different clips and then exporting those clips as ProRes files so that you're getting the highest quality footage, when you then bring that footage into your overall editing workflow, because it's going to sit alongside other footage that you've shot and then be exported in the final overall video. And if, like me, you want to have this recording for long periods of time, then just know that you're going to have a lot of hard drive space. Now, in terms of the video quality, when it's overcast and a bit dull, the footage isn't the best, but I wouldn't say that it's unusable. And given the country that I live in, I have filmed plenty of times in overcast situations and even in the rain. And I still use the footage regardless of it, because sometimes I don't care if the quality takes a little bit of a hit if I get the shot that I want, but that just really does depend on what I'm filming and what I'll use it for later. So when it comes to camera settings, I don't fiddle around with these too much. I tend to just keep my EV meter set to -0.3 and shoot in all auto settings. And the reason that I have my EV meter set to -0.3 is because if it's at 0, then the highlights can look a little bit too harsh, and the footage can just look a little bit too bright in terms of the highlights looking too harsh. So having it at -0.3 seems to do a really good job. And when it comes to the color profiles, this is something that I am still very much experimenting with. And what I will say, I have noticed that on a bright sunny day, the footage shot in the normal color profile with the sharpness set to medium looks great. It does really look good. But when you use the same settings on an overcast day, I wouldn't say that the footage looks incredible. But when you switch to the flat color profile with the sharpness set to medium on an overcast day, then the footage does look much better when shooting than when you shoot in the standard color profile. So there is a vivid color profile as well, but I don't tend to use this because it's not the one for me. So yeah, standard on a really bright sunny day, or flat on an overcast day, and then you can just bring everything back up in post and just make it look better in post. With the audio, I wouldn't use the microphones, the audio that comes from the microphones of the X4 as my first choice. What I've been doing is using a wireless mic that has internal recording like the Rode Wireless Pro, and then just syncing that audio in post if I talk to the camera. I could definitely plug the Rode Wireless Pro into the X4 using the different adapters, but I quite like to have the option to still use that track from the X4, the whole stereo sound, so that you've got the ambient sounds of the traffic or people going by, or people talking in the background, and you can have it quite faint just so that you have that ambient sound in the background. In terms of being able to reframe and repurpose the footage, when setting the camera modes, I just always have it in 360 mode on 8K because I want to capture everything in the highest possible quality. However, if I was going to talk into the camera whilst also walking around, I've actually been trying out using the single lens mode, and more specifically the me mode in that single lens mode, and that's just mainly to reduce the amount of editing that you need to do when you shoot in 360, because if you shoot in single lens there's less to do. But the thing with me mode is that it only shoots in 4K and the footage looks fine, but when you shoot in 8K 360 the footage just looks better, and for me the video quality is one of those things that the majority of the time is top of my list. So at this point you might be just saying, okay, well then just use a different action camera. And if you've been around my channel for a while, then you know that I have my favourite, but I've been posting a lot on Instagram recently. And so just having that ability to take one clip and repurpose it for a long form YouTube video or a vertical video or even a square post is just really convenient, and actually makes me want to share more behind the scenes footage and share more moments as well. Okay, so when it comes to the shortcomings and what I really do hope to see in the next generation, there are a couple of things that did jump out at me.
Are you going north or south? Because trains are cancelled going north.
Bedford.
Yeah, that's cancelled.
Great.
Yeah, the next one's 2302.
Low light isn't great, which is no surprise for action cameras. Sometimes it gets close to being unusable, and even when going indoors to somewhere that isn't necessarily too badly lit, the footage just still turns to mush, and you kind of have to shoot in 5.7K. That is the recommendation, to shoot in 5.7K if you're in a low light situation. But that's just not always convenient. If I'm shooting in 8K and then going from indoors to outdoors, I'd have to stop recording in 8K, switch to 5.7K. It's just a faff, and so that is just something that I really do hope can be amended in the next generation. And if the Ace Pro can shoot so well in low light, then let's just have it in the 360 cameras as well, right? Now, I was really excited about this feature that I'm gonna talk about next, because it works so well for two really popular cameras, which you can probably guess. And it's just, I wouldn't use it with the Insta360 X4 because the quality just sounds really poor. So basically, the Insta360 X4 has the ability to connect the DJI Mic 2 transmitter via Bluetooth, direct Bluetooth connection to the Insta360 X4, and record the audio that way. But the audio, it's not great. It's really not good. And so you could probably get around this by dropping the audio into something like the Adobe Speech Enhancer, the AI Speech Enhancer, and that would probably work. But for me, that's just an extra step, which just seems like more faff, when I could just as easily attach a wireless microphone to myself, like the Rode Wireless Pro, record internally to the microphone, and then just take that whole file and then just sync it up later on in post with the video files from the X4. So I don't know, for you that might seem like more effort than just dropping the audio into something and cleaning it up, but I don't mind doing the sync because it doesn't take that long. So for me, the X4 would always be one of those cameras that is an addition to my camera kit rather than being a main camera. Though for some people, I can genuinely see it being just that camera that is an all-rounder, does everything and does it great for that person, because it's always going to capture the moments and they're not going to miss anything. It just really depends on your needs. But for me, it makes for such a fantastic behind the scenes camera, because I can set it, forget it, reframe everything later in post and deal with it then.
Morning.
Now, I know that I mentioned that the 5.7K footage in the Insta360 X4 is basically the same, or if not very similar, to that of the Insta360 X3. And so that kind of brings up the question of whether it's worth upgrading. And if you want to know, then you can check out my next video where I basically go through and give you my opinion on whether it is worth an upgrade.